Hey, how you doing, girl? It is the 3rd of February, 2019. It is a Sunday evening. It is the evening of the Super Bowl, and I am not watching the Super Bowl. I have little to no interest in watching a football game, and plus, I don't have television, so there's another reason. I don't know if the Super Bowl is being streamed online. It probably is in a lot of different ways. I could probably receive the stream if I was so inclined to give it a shot. But again, my interest is not there. And anyway, I hope you're doing well today, this evening. I'm curious if you care about the Super Bowl, whether that's important to you. I know I've been doing homework today in preparation for my welding class this coming week. And I'm also doing some cooking for my kitchen activities and, um, so that I can prepare meals for the remainder or for this week and get my nutrition in. Speaking of nutrition, I think I've pretty much committed to spending less time cooking in my kitchen, making desserts. I have really just started having trouble sort of eating dessert in a measured way. Usually I take my dessert and I count calories and there's no problem. But lately, and I mean like the last 2 or 3 days, I've been having a hard time calculating calories for my desserts. Somehow I've gotten out of the habit of it, or I'm not thinking of it as being as essential. I don't know what's happening, but I'm dismissing the calorie counting of the desserts that I'm eating. I'm not sure why that is. It's just a behavior that seems to be happening, and so I'm going to try to nip this behavior in the bud and basically stop producing desserts. So recently, if you've been watching my channel, you've been realizing I've been making things like cookies and cakes and cupcakes. And in fact, today I made an angel food cake. I made 2 angel food cakes. And, I'm having trouble sort of controlling myself around that stuff. And even frosting. When I was in college, I used to really enjoy frosting. I'm not sure. I would eat it dip, say, French bread in frosting and have that, I guess, as part of dessert or a meal or anything when I was in college. And no necessarily negative things happen as a result, but I just recognize that it's not the best habit to have. I'm kind of falling into that habit again. Even today, I had frosting out of a tub of frosting as a snack, and that just sort of is unusual for me. It's something I didn't calorie count, and so I'm thinking I'm going to have to make some adjustments. So for at least temporarily, I'm going to start cooking things that are healthy. So enchiladas, burritos, tacos, curries. There's a lot to prepare, a lot to make that's not in the dessert realm. In fact, I'll be able to focus on more fruit-like desserts. So there's really a lot of opportunity. I can, again, hone my skills in making flour tortillas and corn tortillas. And I mean, the world of cooking is so large. I just got a kick there for a couple of weeks of creating desserts. Something I hadn't focused on. I was quite excited and even passionate about it. But it occurs to me that I can be passionate about food in ways that support my health instead of don't support my health, right? Yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And in fact, I've already started doing it. I've already started tossing desserts out of my apartment and also not buying new desserts. So that's a good turn of events. Hopefully I can get this minor habit back into control It's just a small adjustment. And here's the thing. Fact is, I have tons of self-control. It is one of the key traits of my personality. It is one of my signature traits. And so, uh, when I notice that things go a little bit astray, I take quick and affirmative action. I take quick and positive action to make sure it doesn't become a problem. It's just something I've been noticing the last 2 or 3 days, and definitely time to take action, I think. Keep me on track. This was happened when I was with your mom. Your mom, Sheila, had a sweet tooth, and she would keep desserts and candies in the house. And I remember having trouble resisting that food when I was feeling a little snacky. And, I thought that I could resist it here when I had it under control in my own home. But there's something about the human body, the human brain, when it sees these dessert items lying around, it's just, I don't know what it is about the human body, but our brains just sort of move toward these dessert items, and it's powerful. It's a powerful fixation, I think. It probably has to do with just millions and millions of years of evolutionary change, right? That's what I think it probably is. If you think about it, ancient humans, if they ran across something like fruit from a blueberry tree or fruit in a tree or something, or banana, and it was available, it would make sense for the human brain to sort of override all constraints and seek out those bananas and eat as much, maybe even binge on the bananas, because the future was not predictable. And I can see how sort of having low self-control when it comes to foods being sort of out and about and available, that could be adaptive behavior that the brain developed. And so to some extent, I actually think of, not that I binge at all, but I think binging is just a normal part of human eating behavior. I mean, if you think about it, from the ancient peoples on the savannah, imagine a time when human beings were just sort of, maybe they came across a kill from a mountain lion on the savannah, and they found food just lying there, an animal dying or dead, and I can imagine that it was in ancient man's self-interest to just gorge themselves on the food when it was available. And that kind of conditioning and genetic change, I can imagine that it was just more adaptive, more suitable to human fitness to allow the binge to happen. And I think it's normal behavior. I don't think there's anything wrong about it. I certainly don't judge it. I think, though, that it is not necessarily conducive to healthy eating. It's okay that it happens every once in a while, but I think that it's important to make adjustments to ensure that it doesn't happen regularly and that the draw is not powerful. There are things that I can do to support my own health, right? And so I got to make sure that the savannah is free and clear of those kind of temptations. And what's great is that I can control my external environment, and so that's not a problem. So there's a lot to celebrate, a lot to be happy about in regard to that. So what else is going on? Like I said, I'm studying for my welding class. I really need to get into the textbook and study the chapters. I've got an exam, I guess as early as tomorrow, a quiz on chapter 13. So maybe that's something I need to pay attention to and start studying about. I wonder if you've gotten interested in testing yourself using an app called Quizlet. I have downloaded the app called Quizlet on a few devices. I think I've got it on my Android phone, my PC computer, and I think I just downloaded it on my iPad Pro. And I'm going to start using it with greater interest when I receive my iPad Pro keyboard folio, which is scheduled to, oh no, it's not the 14th. What is today, the 3rd? So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 7th. So I'm looking forward on the 7th. By the way, Valentine's Day is showing up. That's right. Before we know it, it'll be Valentine's Day. Yeah, so that might be interesting. That's an opportunity right there showing up. It's possible that we might do something on Valentine's Day. What do you say to something like that? I think I'll email your mom with some ideas. Let's see what else is going on. I've really been enjoying my yoga classes. Yoga, I'm finding, has been teaching me a lot about my body, helping me to become more aware of what's possible in terms of movement with my joints and my muscles. I've also am recognizing how important it is to stretch regularly, and I'm also finding pleasure in the stretching of my muscles. In fact, the other day I was having a hankering, a feeling that I wanted to do some stretching. And that's good. That's what I want to develop. I want to develop a desire, a need, a wish to do some stretching and find enjoyment. My yoga classes also sort of triggered or excited an interest in me in listening to spa music. I'm really loving some of the what I'd call light and melodic music that I can get through my subscription to Google Play and YouTube Red. And I've just really just been enjoying the music of the yoga music and how relaxing it can be and sort of helpful to a peaceful state of mind. I've also been reading quite a bit. I try to read every day. And the kind of literature I enjoy reading is self-help literature. And there's this book I've been reading lately called The Happiness Makeover, which I'm really enjoying. I hope to be finished with that book. I've already read a number of books this month, or actually the last couple of weeks. And I'll be finishing up The Happiness Makeover probably this coming week. And I've already got in my mind a few books that I want to read after that. I think I want to read this other book about patience, which I think is a virtue worth paying attention to. And there's another book that's coming out by the Gottman Institute. It's about relationships among people, particularly romantic relationships, marriage relationships. And they're coming out with a brand new book. I'm excited to read it. I've read already like 2 books from the Gottman Institute, and I'm interested in tackling my 3rd book. The Gottman Institute, if you don't know, is an organization that's focused on improving human relationships, and they use clinical studies and to sort of support and provide evidence for their theories. Now, personally, I'm not necessarily I appreciate that the organization is there, and I'm curious to learn about their clinical studies. And I'm hoping to glean as much as I can about what makes healthy relationships. I'm not necessarily an advocate necessarily of any particular worldview as it relates to relationships, but since relationships are everywhere and involve everything, it can only be helpful to learn more about it. Certainly with the support of some scientific understanding. So anyway, I'm happy about the book that's coming out soon, and I'll probably be purchasing it. One thing I'm recognizing too is that my interest in Harry Potter is sort of on the wane right now. I did read the first 3 books, and I was planning to read The Goblet of Fire, which is the 4th volume of the Harry Potter series, and I just haven't made time to do it. I have just been swamped with doing all kinds of other things. Let me tell you something about life. Life is so exciting. There are an infinite number of possibilities. There are an infinite number of things to do that I have trouble sort of categorizing it and getting it all done. There's so many valuable, worthwhile projects to take action on. I mean, it's a wonderful problem to have, right? I've got so many projects, so many things going on that I just can't get around to doing all the valuable things I want to do. But at the same time, I'm not getting around to getting all the valuable things that I want to do done. So that's a little bit regretful. Anyway, it's all right. I have been spending a lot of time trying to learn how to use my iPad Pro, and wow, I'm really blown away by the technology. Apple has done a fantastic job throwing together the iOS operating system, and I'm really enjoying the tablet computer, and it's already becoming a foundation in certain ways about how I manage things like to-do lists and note-taking, and how I manage time, and how I manage my calendar, and it's helping me be more productive, and hopefully it's helping me communicate a little bit more with you, Emily. I've managed to attempt to FaceTime you and sent you a Memoji. And so, there are a lot of benefits that I'm receiving from this iPad Pro, and I'm really glad that I sort of took hold of the horns or the reins and purchased one and picked one up. I think it's going to be a really valuable part of my day, and it's going to make a positive contribution to what I do and how I do it and how efficiently I do it and how much fun I have while doing it. So really excited about the iPad Pro. It really is helping me come into my own, and I'm definitely using it as a great support to my laptop. Yeah, so things are good. I tell you, it sure is a great gadget. One thing I'm noticing is that it's really similar to the Android operating system, and I'm liking that. There's almost no learning curve, and I don't know if that's because it's probably just because of similarities that have developed over time between the iOS and the Android operating system. It has nothing to do with how smart I am or my own experience with the Apple operating system. It's just that things are converging. And it's kind of interesting too, because what's going on is when it comes to voice assistants, I'm an advocate and a user of the Google Home voice assistant. I'm also now using Siri. There are actually a number of voice assistants out there. There's the voice assistant for Microsoft systems called Alexa. Oh, is it called Alexa? Or is that the one for Amazon.com? Maybe it's called. Remember, there's like Amazon and Microsoft and Google and Apple. There's at least 4 voice assistants out there, and I'm using 2 of them right now on a regular basis. And I'm finding utility in both. So let's hear it for artificial intelligence and how it's making its way insidiously into our lives. And I'm really happy about the benefits that I'm gaining from using this artificial intelligence technology. It's definitely helping me sort of fill out my life and make it more full and interesting. And I'm already using Google Assistant to do a lot of things, to schedule appointments, to create to-do lists. I'm using it to create for definitions and calculations, conversions. I'm using it frequently, daily, as a timer, kitchen timer. And I also use it to listen to music, and it's just a great resource all around. And I'm just really loving it. So loving this artificial intelligence. It's totally, it's an important part of my life. And if it were to go away, I would be struggling. I would be struggling. That's for sure. So it's helping me be more productive and effective in the world. It's making my life easier and more enjoyable. It's having a real impact on my life and even raising the quality of my life. So if you haven't jumped on the voice assistant artificial intelligence bandwagon, I highly recommend it, Emily. I think that is definitely not only the future, but even today, at the current level of development of these artificial intelligence agents, it is easy to raise your quality of life level a half point to an extra point, higher than where you already are. It makes a significant difference. It helps me make decisions, better decisions all day long. So anyway, also helps keep me on track from a productivity standpoint. So definitely give it some thought if you haven't already started indulging in using voice assistants regularly. Let's see what else is going on in my life. Anything of interest? I'm just looking forward to this week. This week's going to be fun. I've got 2 welding classes to look forward to and a yoga class. Everything's going well. Work and family are going well. I'm going to be traveling to Albuquerque, New Mexico soon, probably within the next 3 months or so. I'm also going to be planning a few camping trips, week-long camping trips to be accomplished in July or August of this year. And those camping trips will take place in Santa Cruz. What else is going on? I'm looking forward to going to a nonviolent communication conference. What is it, about a month or two? I'll also be supporting the local science fair, high school science fair here in Lompoc. That'll be fun. I'll probably be a judge for that and do some promotion for that worthwhile event. I've also got a music festival coming up soon. So there's all kinds of neat stuff. I also plan to go to a few more amusement parks on the weekends and even a few water parks on the weekends. So I've got all kinds of fun and interesting plans going on. I'm also thinking about growing out my hair here, as you could probably tell. My hairstyle's getting a little wild, and that's actually intentional. I wanted to grow my hair out a little bit. I wanted to sort of grow out my beautiful mane, right? And I think there's an opportunity now for me to do that. I also wanted to, I don't know. Things are going really well right now. They're going really well. I'm definitely working things out. Things are definitely good. If I were to describe my life in one word, the word would be good. It's a good life. One thing that I'm recognizing as being really essential for me in terms of my own personal growth is making sure that I read books on a regular basis. I need that infusion of creative ideas about how to live a better life, and I need those ideas just always coursing through my brain so I can pick and choose them as I wish every moment of my life. And also another thing that I'm finding is that exercise is valuable. It's super valuable. And oddly enough, I'm also finding a resistance to exercising every day. Now these days I'm exercising 3 days a week. And one of those days I'm walking about 10 miles. So, that's exercise 4 days a week minimum, right? That is what I do. I've been thinking about adding more days of exercise a week, and I'm struggling to do that. I'm struggling to add an extra day. I'm not quite sure what's holding me back. Probably just an unfamiliarity. One of these days, I hope to accomplish the goal of working out 7 days a week. I think that that would be worthwhile and important, but I'm just not there. I'm working out 4 days a week. I mean, that's pretty good. That's not a shoddy. It's not a shoddy level of activity, but I would like to up it a little bit more. I'll get there. Yeah. I'll figure. I need to figure out how to do it. It's kind of funny, human life. What we accomplish during the day in terms of activities. I'm sort of trying to keep the show going, right? In certain areas I'm weak in, other areas I'm strong in, and it's really just a complicated game, right? It's all about logistics, and it's partly about money. It's partly about control and self. It's also about leisure time, and I've got beliefs about leisure time and relaxation and recreation and what that means, and I also have preferences about how I like to spend my time, and when it comes to eating and drinking and having fun and things like that, and sort of this of piecing this puzzle together of one's life, in a meaningful, purposeful way. It's not necessarily easy to pull it together. It's easy to fall off the wagon or sort of fall off the ball because things get complicated really fast. All it takes is like an injury or an illness or I don't know, maybe a news story or weather or a contractual problem or something, or even something as simple as tax day or whatever, to sort of throw you off your center. All it takes is just a little bit of something to throw you off your center. One injury, maybe getting sick, something you just don't have control over, whether you've got the flu or a cold. It can throw you for a loop for a couple days or even a week. And, it's a struggle to maintain the progress that I've made. Here's an example. Like I've been working out 3 days a week plus walking, right? And I also have a workout day that is basically a biking and abs workout. And I'm having real trouble putting this biking and abs workout. That is the 5th day into my workout schedule during the week. And so thankfully, biking on the stationary bike and my abs are very forgiving exercises, and they don't need necessarily to be exercised every week. But that's trouble. It's such a struggle. I want to make gains in my weightlifting exercises, doing incline bench press and, maybe a weighted dip or a weighted pull up. And, in order to make gains, I have to go to the gym regularly, right? Once, twice, 3 times a week. And the more regular I am, the more advancement I make. And if I don't go to the gym regularly, I do not make advancements in the gym. It just doesn't happen. My workouts are not as productive. I stop hitting PRs. My workouts are just harder to accomplish if I don't work out regularly. So I don't know. It's just this balancing act of just doing this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, I want to do all kinds of things. There's so much opportunity out there to visit with friends and to go out. I don't know. I find myself stretched. I don't mind being stretched because often it's stuff that I want to do. It's just, I need to sort of manage my time and my energy and my interests. It's complicated, man. I'm hoping that the iPad Pro will help me with being more productive and scheduling all these ideas into my day and into my weeks and into my months. So that I'm reliably hitting goals, right? despite all the things that happen to mess up my day, like injuries that are incidental or changes in plans. Yeah. So, one thing I figured I would do to move on to the next segment is maybe I would use my iPad Pro to go over my Kindle notes to the book that I'm reading now called Attitudes of Gratitude in Love by M.J. Ryan. So here we go. So here is my Kindle notes. These are the highlights, the highlighted passages that I highlighted in the book, and I figured I'd go through each one. So on page 36 of Attitudes of Gratitude in Love, I highlighted this passage. It says, gratitude is a feeling of fullness, a recognition of the heart of what we are receiving in this moment. It is not a wish or hope for the future. Now, I get a sense that I might have already covered this passage before, but I'll cover it again. So yeah, gratitude is about a present moment feeling. Now, gratitude can be, it's kind of interesting. There's actually three kinds of gratitude. There's gratitude about what happened in the past, gratitude about what is happening today in the present, and gratitude about what might happen in the future, right? But gratitude, I think, is primarily used as sort of it's an in the moment type valuing, sort of a recognition. Oh, I'm making some rice for my lunches this week, and that's my rice cooker. So, in fact, you know what I'll do is let me unplug my rice cooker here. Let me give me 1 second while I unplug it. Make sure that rice is not spoiled. It'll just take me a second here. All right, very good. Well, thank you for allowing me to do that. All right, so I'm back in the game. That didn't take too long. So, speaking of gratitude, yeah, I think probably the most useful way of using gratitude is using it in the present moment. It's about it's about focus, intention. It's a recognition. It's sort of an awareness of just your moment-to-moment feelings, and thoughts about the world. In fact, I think that's how gratitude can be used most effectively. In a way, it's like digging and exploring your human experience in the moment. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. It's about making things new again, seeing the sky in a new way, seeing the sun in a new way, seeing your body in a new way. Maybe you've experienced had these experiences before, but it's about slowing down, and primarily about slowing down, becoming aware, becoming mindful of these parts of your experience, and then just valuing those parts, loving those parts. It's really it's a being thankful that these parts of your life are in your life, right? Recognizing that these parts are fleeting, right? This moment will never come again in quite that same way. And why not extract as much thankfulness and joy? Why not extract as much thankfulness and joy from your experience as possible? In fact, why not amplify that joy and experience? Why not, at least for a moment, why not truly enjoy it? Is there a way that you can enjoy the present moment any more than you're doing so right now? Could you enjoy it one notch more? 1 point more, 10% more? And if you can, It might be worthwhile to try. Why not? What have you got to lose? Well, there are a few things you could possibly lose. Personal integrity might be it, I don't know. You know, who knows what you might lose? But my guess is that the trade off will be worth it in most cases. Yeah. So it is a present moment practice quite often. That's where it really shines. That's where gratitude really shines. But not necessarily. I mean, you could really take it in, observe the past, or or think about the future. Okay, so here's another highlight that I highlighted in the book. It's on page number 36. However, I do believe that the more we offer our appreciation for what we have in our relationship, the more we're likely to get. So I'm really recognizing how important this is right now. One of the most powerful things that you can offer in a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or just a friendly relationship or a familial relationship having to do with family, is offer appreciation. When you offer, even in the workplace, when you offer recognition, you are providing gold. It's as good as cash money. It's a gift that you're offering. You're inviting another person to sort of explore and experience, what you're experiencing, about how you're enjoying another person's behavior or their presence. And, it's powerful. It's essentially, I think, one of the most, we all as human beings have a need for validation. All right. And that validation can come in a lot of different ways. It can come through gifts, acts of service, verbal expressions. It can come through touch. Now I'm talking mostly right now about a verbal affirmation, right? Verbal validation. It's a wonderful gift to give someone, and it's actually quite wonderful to give to yourself too. Giving to yourself these acts of self-validation, these acts of self-empathy, self-compassion is critical to sort of supporting one's own happiness. And, I think a lot of people go through their lives struggling with hardship that they create themselves. Quite often, people make judgments about the way the world is, and those judgments are harsh. They're really harsh and painful, right? These are thoughts that are painful. They have, basically, these are thoughts with meanings that sort of trigger constriction and tension in a person's muscles. They're about, and sometimes there's like resistance to reality, and it's painful. Let me think more carefully about what this pain is. I think of this pain, the pain of emotional pain, I think it's mostly about tension, right? We're talking about human bodies here, and where does pain come from but from tension, right? Lactic acid buildup, things like this. And, it's stressful, to a thought can trigger hormonal changes. For example, you might have a fearful thought, and that thought could trigger, say, an adrenaline rush. Your adrenal glands to start pumping, or those thoughts can prevent you from sleeping. And anyway, there's thoughts can have lots of effects on your body, and so it's important to choose wisely, right? Yeah. So anyway, I guess my point is this: it's really important to sort of appreciate others and yourself. It'll go a long way to creating more peace and enjoyment of your life. All right. So there's another passage that I highlighted, and it's on page 36. And the passage says, that's because whatever we focus on tends to multiply. This is critically important. It is indeed true that whatever we focus on tends to multiply. If we focus on a subject A, for example, and we are continuously focusing on A, our mind is taking A in from different perspectives, and there's different contexts when we grasp onto this idea. And this analysis just creates, we get more of it, right? There's more of it. The A starts showing up all the time. We remind ourselves about A. This is the subject A, just any particular subject. The subject shows up in various forms, and it's just available to us because we're focusing on it in the moment and maybe over multiple moments. We might even become obsessed with this idea, right? And it just becomes getting multiplied and more energetic, more energized, and there's more meaning. Our narrative is created because this concept of A is just available, right? It's available in our mental stage, on our mental stage. And if we keep it on that stage, we'll continue to get more of A. Now, it's great that if A might be another person, but that can have effects, good and bad, on your relationships. Even love is an example. When you love someone, you're focused on that person all the time. And frankly, a person might become obsessed. And, that is basically part of falling in love. It's sort of an obsession. I'm not saying it's healthy. I have my suspicions that love itself may be unhealthy. I think that our society tends to focus on love as being a really healthy emotion. I think appreciation is healthy. I think thankfulness is healthy. Enjoyment is healthy. But I think love, as it is popularly known, in sort of romantic contexts, quite often borders on a thinking style that is unhealthy. But that's not to say it's not enjoyable. That's why people love falling in love. It's enjoyable for a time if it's not so distorting and displeasing, which it can be. Anyway, so the point is that, whatever you think about on or dwell on tends to multiply. And that is definitely true. This is all about law of attraction, where, your ideas and values, if you focus on them, different concepts and principles, they basically, when your attention is geared, say, maybe focus it in a certain direction, maybe with a certain perspective, a theme perhaps, and there's a lot of energy on that theme, basically everything becomes a manifestation. Your life, your reality becomes a manifestation of where you place your attention. This is just the way human brains work, right? Particularly when we over-focus on an idea, that's just what shows up in our reality. Here's a perfect example. When you're going to buy a car, say, and you've landed on an idea about, say, buying a Volvo, what you might discover is that as you're driving around on the road, that Volvos will show up. Your subconscious mind will pull up images of Volvos as they travel by on the freeway. And it's just normal. That's what the brain does. The brain sort of picks up on matches between what's in your mind and what's in your external reality. And those matches just develop and multiply, and because they become more energized and energetic. And so the moral of the story here is to pay attention to what you're paying attention to, and make sure that you're paying attention to things that sort of are, if you got more of it, it would work to your benefit. And try to spend as little time as possible considering and dwelling on and obsessing ideas that bring you harm in some way, that are emotionally painful. You know, it's easy to sort of get caught up in complaints or an analysis of problems. You know, what's unsuitable, what's wrong with the situation. It's much more adaptive and more helpful if you are to focus on things that are right. What's going on that's right in your life? You know, what strengths are you developing now? Let's think about that. Dwell on that. What virtues are you developing? Again, also critically important. All right, let's move on to the next passage that I highlighted in this book. This is page 36. The quotation is, reality is often profoundly created through our anticipatory images, values, plans, intentions, beliefs, and the like. Yeah, this is the law of attraction idea. Reality is profoundly created through our anticipatory images, values, plans, intentions, beliefs, and the like. Yeah, and I talk about this all the time. And that this is just another way to express the idea that we're continuously projecting what's available in our mind. What material is available? We're continually projecting that on our external world. I'll go on to the next highlight. That's on page number 38. The passage is, what is meant is that the more we focus on the good, the more we create the possibility that our relationship will get better and better. And I think that's really true. I think that relationships that tend to focus on how your mate is sort of unworthy or ineffective can really create a situation where your mate is ineffective, and it's hard to turn the ship around if you've spent a lot of time judging your partner. Okay, Google. Sorry. So what I'm going to do?
No, totally.
What I'm going to do is move on to the very next highlight, and that's on page number 38. And the passage says, and even if it has no effect on the future, noticing what's right in your love life sure helps you to feel better right this minute. And that's not bad either. So the great thing about gratitude is that it is effective in the future right now, immediately. You reap the benefits for every grateful or thoughtful or thankful idea that you have. You get an immediate reward. You don't have to wait. It's an immediate boost to your attitude. You almost immediately become more effective in your world. Yeah. So I'll move on to the next quotation. This is on page 40. And the passage reads, gratitude helps us live fully because it is the pause to notice what we are receiving, to register our fullness. And gratitude helps us love well by keeping us focused on the beauty in our relationship and on the person we love. Here's the thing about judgment. It's quite often not reality, right? It's often quite a story that we've made up. A judgment is, some kind of imagined scenario about the world is like. For example, he hates me. How could you ever know that? That term too is an exaggeration, right? The word hate is basically an extreme thought. It's, and often when you make a judgment like that, particularly an emotional judgment, it's hard to justify. It's hard to discover the truth. You just don't go anywhere. These judgments have very little cognitive content. quite often they are assumptions, and there's nowhere where to go. You basically get stuck. Whereas if you said, I love my partner because of this, and this, just identifying that is a way to figure out what you want more of in your life, right? It can help you plan for the future so that you get more of the stuff that you want. You know, appreciations and affirmations just work to help you build a future and to help you get more of what you want. Um, Judgments actually have the opposite effect. They'll amplify what is missing in your life. And if you dwell a lot on what's missing in your life, those losses become more and more important, right? They can become more and more critical as you add energy to those beliefs. And all that creates is a feeling of injustice and anger, and and there's no winning. There's also no acceptance, right? If you become less and less prone or able to accept a negative judgment, the more you focus on that negative judgment. Yeah. That's kind of unfortunate, but that's the condition we humans are in. All right, so let's move on to the next passage. This is another highlight that's on page 40. And the passage reads, when we practice gratitude in our intimate relationships, what we're really doing is making more love. We're talking about what is already present, and by recognizing and valuing it, magnifying and intensifying it exponentially. So, this is what I think love is. And this is what I think how a person can make love or be more loving to their romantic partner. It's really wrapped up here in this sentence. It says, and I'll read it again. This passage says, when we practice gratitude in our intimate relationships, what we are really doing is making more love. That is how you make love. Our human brain is a factory, right? It's got lots of neurons and dendrites that get triggered, and it's an idea machine. And it can make love. It's like a factory. It's an emotion factory. And the more you focus on what you're thankful about the other person, you're basically making love. You're manufacturing it from nothing. And not only that, but you could focus not just on a person, but you can make love to, anything in your external reality. It could be your own personality, your own actions and behavior. It could be maybe nature around you and the beauty that exists. I mean, there's beauty in everything. There's beauty in the light that enters my eye, even now, from every corner of my room. There's beauty in my own body as I look around it and I just marvel at my hands or my skin or even my amazing hair. It's this practice which, is making more love. If you want more love in your life, by recognizing it, valuing it, magnifying it, intensifying it, for me, it's a focus on thankfulness. It's a focus on what's good about what's happening and what emotions you're considering in the moment. And it's an amazing power. It's actually a superpower. It's a superpower. And if you want to impress anybody, impress them by how well you can love them. How thankful you can be. In fact, the most powerful expressions of love that I have ever experienced have been other people expressing their thankfulness for me, what I've done, maybe how I've helped them, or what I've made them feel. You know, that love, I register it as just a lot of different forms of and intense forms of thankfulness. In fact, I actually like using the word thankfulness more than I like using the word gratitude. Gratitude, for some reason, there's that term, that word just seems a little bit ephemeral. I'm not so sure what gratitude means all the time. But thankfulness is something I have regular experience with, right? I know how to be thankful. I say thank you on a regular basis. And also when it comes to thankfulness, it's very clear to me how I can amplify that thankfulness, right? Through expressions, verbal expressions, through acts that I perform, acts of service. It's clear to me how I can sort of magnify thankfulness in my life. When I think about magnifying gratitude, it's a little harder for me to envision, slightly harder for me to envision. So I tend to like to use the idea of thankfulness. And love is essentially just a form of thankfulness, right? Sometimes you might think of how lucky you are to have another person in your life, say a romantic partner. That is a form of thankfulness. It's an appreciation, right, of maybe your position in the world, but it might be an appreciation of the other. Yeah. And and the more energy you can put behind that appreciation, the better off you are, right? The higher quality love that you're expressing. So anyway, let me tell you, going over this information has been really valuable for me. It really is valuable for me just to get hyper focused on what it is I'm talking about when I talk about love and happiness and gratitude. And anyway, there's really no downsides to thinking about this subject a lot. I think the more you think about it, I bet you the more happy you'll be in your life, the more focused you'll be in your life, the more intentional you'll be in your life. And just, I don't know, it's altogether better. So anyway, I'm going to wrap things up right now. I want to thank you for spending this time with me as I've gone through this book, Attitudes of Gratitude in Love by M.J. Ryan. I'm already finished with a book called The Happiness Makeover, which I'm nearly complete with that. And I'm reading all these books by this particular author, all of the books that she's published. And it's what I like to do. And it's where I like to spend my time, my mental time. And I hope that you're getting a kick out of it too. And I want you to know that I love you and that I cherish you, and that I'm really pleased how things are going. I hope you're doing well in high school. And, I'm looking forward to the future, getting together again, maybe going to go see a movie, or going out to get dinner, or go get dessert or something like that. Maybe we can have an exchange in text messaging, or using iPads, or using the Apple operating system to do FaceTime. And so, there's a lot of good things that we can look forward to in our lives, and I'm really glad to share them with you, these amazing books and this amazing technology, and just sharing our lives together and sort of living them, and working on projects shoulder to shoulder, arms linked as we march into the future. So that's who I am. That's what I'm all about. So let's go forward into the future. I love you, girl. You have a wonderful evening, and I hope whatever team that you're rooting for in the Super Bowl wins. I'm not even sure who's playing in the Super Bowl right now. I think one of the one of the teams is the Patriots, but I could be mistaken. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later, and know that I love you. Bye bye.